Connections. Beyond Connections is an avenue that we provide to investors where they can ask their burning questions regarding anything under the sun. Well, practically, basically, anything under the sun in the market. So I guess to kick things off, there were a lot of earnings announcements, economic data numbers, and some, I guess, indications on what is happening in the PSEI. So to start things off, some of the companies that have announced earnings this week and even last week, namely CNPF, Emperador, and Mrs. G or MRSGI, mostly for the consumer companies. For example, si Emperador, they announced earnings yesterday and they held their earnings briefing just today. And earnings for the company was mainly flat for 2022. This is on the heels of a strong 2021 and 2022. They face a lot of challenges, particularly on their brandy and whiskey segments. Um, a lot of it had to do with logistics concerns. They weren't able to provide some of their stores or the countries with sufficient supply, so that weighed down some of their sales. Um, so although in Q4 naman, raw materials started to soften, logistics costs also softened. So this pulled up somewhat their full year margins and earnings and profitability. So although we currently see Emperador is nasa mga fully valued na siya or fairly valued na siya. So our preference might be in some of Emperador's competitors. Then for CNPF, mostly in line earnings naman siya. And then for MRSGI, they also had strong earnings, similar with its competitors. It has already moved to pre-pandemic levels, so it was a good sight to see. Uh, Even the smaller companies or the smaller cap stocks have recovered already. Although, in what we've seen in its share price, it hasn't really moved much. So, ayun. So apart from that, Bess, do you have any economic numbers that you want to share to our viewers today?
Well, we can relate it to the first question on the chat already from Franco Brand. What do you think is causing the recent weakness in the market? Um, One of the reasons possibly could be some of the economic data that have been announced this week. Most recently is the U.S. inflation for March, which was announced just last night. This was lower than market expectations at 5%. Um, this could be a sign that this when you take it when taken in conjunction with the lower jobs data that was also announced last week naman, this could be taken as a sign that the tightening efforts of the Fed have been are starting to take effect, not just on prices on the US, but also the negative effect it could have on the US economy. So that has some um, down the line repercussions for the rest of the global economy, since we most central banks take their cue from what the US does. This has been a concern for a few months now that the global recession could be an effect of the tightening cycles around the world. So that's one of the possible reasons. Could there be a technical reason, Ivy?
Technical reason, I think most of the chart inclined market participants are watching this 6,300 or 6,400 level. So it does look like a head and shoulder. So if that level breaks, you may see some weakness in the near term.
I think also we may be see for the local market, we may be seeing the effect of some foreign outflows. Um, if if the signs from the economic indicators in the US be pointing to the pause from the Fed, interest rate hikes coming sooner, um, this could be affecting the investment decisions of foreign investors in the Philippines, and uh, they could start putting more of their funds towards back into the US than emerging markets like the Philippines. Um, yeah. So next question, or I don't. We entered right into it. We didn't introduce ourselves. No,
Oh, okay.
we forgot because we've been doing this for a few weeks now. So maybe you already know all of us. But for those that are new, this is
Hi, I'm Rainier. I'm one of the analysts for MyTrade, and I cover the consumer sector.
that's why you were talking about
Oh yeah,
the
that's why I was
companies
talking
that
about.
that announced this week were mostly
Yeah.
consumer. No? Yeah, and I'm Bess. I'm also one of the analysts for Abacus Securities Research, and I cover banks and the economy. And we
And
have
I'm Isaiah. I do the technicals for the My Trade Map.
so get your technical questions into the comments, guys. Take advantage of his presence here now. Next question from which one? What which one?
Maintenance Rob.
Okay, I guess we can start with Rob Haka. Chart and recommendation for nickel, please.
So ano yung chart lang.
Yeah, I guess we can start with
We can't do reckless. But...
we can start with the chart first for nickel.
So can you see the chart? Okay. So here's the chart for Nickel Asia. For those who like the stock, you want to see the support hold at 632. So far, the pattern is for the most part still positive as it's above the 100-day, and support is holding at 632. So if you're say more of concerned about preserving your capital, a break of 632 might be considered as a reduction in your position.
Wait, that's funny. Wait, what is that considered a what? Sorry,
Buti
didn't
na ako
hear it.
mag-reco eh.
Okay. I hope that answers your question. If you want a specific recommendation, sign up with MyTrade so you can see the reports that IC comes up with in terms of technical analysis. And next question from, let's take the one that came in first from Prue Warren. What strategies can we apply when the market is down? In terms of fundamental analysis, for if you're more of a fundamental strategy, if you take more of fundamental analysis as your strategy for when you do your investing, this could be if the market is down, you can take a look at which stocks are down, and if it is it could actually be an opportunity for you to get into your the stocks that you're bullish on at a lower price. So that's I lost my train. That's one of the things you could do when the market is down. But generally, we for fundamental investing, we take a more long term, less short term view. So we would not be heavily influenced by the day to day volatility of certain stock prices. Of course, it depends on your time horizon and on your personal strategy for your own portfolio. But maybe you have something to add.
I guess for long-term investors, I think ano naman, since we're long-term investors, in times like these may be the good time wherein you want to buy yung mga stocks na you wanted to buy before. Maybe you can start tranching, uh, buying in tranches, since yun nga, prices are practically on sale, because maybe there were times before na I wanted to buy this but it already went up. So I guess times like these, no, especially if we believe naman in the company's fundamentals, that you believe that the company will still be there in 5 years time, and it will be outperforming expectations, or basically earning pretty good. Uh, and I guess in bad times, stock prices can go down. But if the earnings are resilient enough, and you are able to capitalize on the times na mababa yung stock niya, then yung doon ka bumili. And once the market is cyclical, when it turns the tide, I think that's the time na magiging it will bear fruit once the bulls start kicking again. So do you have any strategies, I see?
Um, well, what we do with customers is basically allocate separate to the research team's picks, and hopefully try to align the goals of the customer or the client with um, how long how long they can hold their positions or their portfolio. Just try to align it with the stock picks of the research team.
And I guess one of the more important things to consider or to remember is you have to stick to your strategy, especially if, for example, your strategy is more for the short term. You have to stick with the strategy. You have to cut loss, whether you have to, I guess, to cut down instead of doing the short term strategy na going ko na lang long term though. Because maybe the stocks that you're holding for short term, they might not be suitable for the long term strategy, or vice versa na rin naman na yung long term stocks that you plotted, gagawin mo na lang siya short term, it might not bode well, especially moving forward when the tide turns. So I hope you can be disciplined enough in maintaining your strategy. And I guess what you can do in maintaining and keeping the discipline is try to look and how you can further improve the strategies that you have in place. So next
Okay.
question, what are your thoughts on East West?
Okay, we're going with that first. Okay. Actually, we have been for the longest time positive on East West, mainly due to the fact that its loan portfolio is mostly on high yielding consumer loans. But unfortunately, especially during the pandemic, this has been a disadvantage for the bank, because the consumer was heavily affected by of course the lockdowns, and it will take some time for consumer loans and for East West to be able to take advantage of the recent increase in interest rates due to the um, um, tightening cycle of the BSP, because consumer loans take usually about a year to reprice, or it has to mature first and then be replaced by new loans at higher yields. So fortunately for East West, that time for their loan book to reprice is should be starting this year, and we believe that we will start to see more of this on effect on the earnings this year. Unfortunately, the past few years has lost so- has affected the stock's liquidity, and so there might not be any catalysts for sorry there might not be any catalysts for the stock to move, even if even if we start to see the positive effect of the rate hikes on their earnings. One possible catalyst could be if the stock starts to pay dividends, which we will still have to see. So we don't know yet when the bank will start doing that. But they did before the pandemic. They did plan on starting to pay dividends. Unfortunately, that has been put in the back burner, um, because of the virus. So we hope that will come to reality soon. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you, Bess. And I guess those are the developments that are uh, worth watching out for. So for technicals, I see.
Just East West. Should come to the chart of East West.
Let's show the chart of East West. Ayun.
So there you go. So Since 2000, so since 2020, East West has really had quite a long downtrend. It's just recently made its way back above the 200-day MA. So technically, of course, this is bullish. What bulls want to see is for the support level to hold at 871, and hopefully the trend continues upwards for those who are long.
All right. I guess that's it. I mean, that's what we have for East West. Next question.
From this one from J Rada Raffle. Can you read it? Sorry.
Okay. J Rada, he has a bunch of questions for specifically AC. AC is nearing its oversold level at 43% RSI or 43 RSI. Do you think there are significant factors or indicators that would lead this stock reaching its oversold level? Okay, and I guess a follow up is, can you shed some light as to what's happening to AC, C-REIT, R-REIT, or JFC? Because we can focus on AC.
Okay, for AC, I think we should look at the stock in comparison with its peer SM. So if you look at the forward price to earnings ratio of AC compared to SM, it's quite expensive. So for those, we think there may be some rebalancing in terms of what investors are doing. Since it would be cheaper if you want to be exposed to a conglomerate. It would be cheaper in terms of forward earnings ratios to be in SM. There could be some switching going on from AC. This is also probably because compared to SM and probably compared to some other, well, not all, but some of the other conglomerates listed in the PSE, AC has sort of lagged behind their recovery from towards the pre-pandemic earnings level. Although they've already reached that. It has come slower than SM's recovery from its pre-pandemic levels. So, what about on a technical perspective?
On the technical perspective. So on the technical perspective, really not much has been going on. It has basically been trading sideways between 770 to 600. Slight bearish bias, but more or less just a sideways trading range. So
if you also look at the
more or less looks like nothing's happening.
If you also look at the subsidiaries of AC, most of its earnings drivers have faced some issues in solidarity, more especially for Ali and for Globe. So Globe is seeing more competition in the telco space. Meanwhile, Ali is like the rest of the property industry, seeing more struggles in terms of coming back into pre-pandemic earnings levels due to lower occupancy rates, the persistence of work from arrangements that has led to lower demand for office spaces, and for the mall revenue part of the income of property companies like Ali, this has recovered since we have reopened in the early part of 2022. But there may still be, when we compare it to the trajectory that it was before pre-pandemic, it's still not as accelerative or as sharp as the trend was before the crisis. So the property sector has been battered for the past few years, and it's still struggling to recover. So that could also be a reason. In relation to that, the question on C-REIT and R-REIT is also dependent on the strength of the property sector, since these stocks dividend payouts are dependent on the performance of their underlying properties, which rents have may not have rents and occupancy rates may not have grown as much as could be enough to support the dividend rates that could compete more with or compete at a better or at a more attractive level when you compare the rates that investors can get on bonds, which have increased because of the rise in interest rates as well. So if you look at the REITs average dividend payouts, um, and you compare it with what investors can get on the bonds that are being issued now, which are higher than the interest rate levels that we saw in even as early as like early last year before the rate hike cycle started. The payout ratios of REITs could be less attractive. So that's one of the issues that could be affecting
The
REIT
REITs.
issues. Yes, REIT stocks.
And just to plug, I guess if you want to read more about REITs, you can subscribe to my trade. And one of our write ups today is it's a thorough discussion on the REITs and basically on what is happening to many of these REIT companies. And basically we also provide our recommendation there. So I
And
guess in layman's terms, on what was discussed earlier on AC. I just want to clarify then for our viewers, basically in layman's terms, when you talked about the rebalancing between AC and SM, kasi kumbaga, when we talk about their price earnings, basically si AC mas mahal siya compared kay
yes,
SM. Kaya yung probably ibang investors na move out na sila kay AC into SM. Okay. Okay, thank you for that, guys. We have, I guess, we can take our next question. Ano ba po dito?
Wala sa big
So, guys.
the last question still has or JFC daw.
Or JFC. Okay. For JFC, I see they want to provide JFC.
I guess one more comment.
Okay, sige. I can comment on JFC first. So for JFC, they already announced their 2022 earnings. Good headline numbers naman for JFC. And moving forward, given the reopening to China, and basically they are reopening in, well, I guess, everywhere, which si JFC naman, meron naman silang portfolio in, for example, in US, China, Philippines. They've been bouncing back pretty strong. There are concerns lang in terms of their profitability given their issuance of perps. And I guess currently, what we see on JFC, yung in terms of their share price, they're more on the fairly to expensive levels. So um, basically, we prefer some of its peers, given their peers have better or more attractive valuations. I see. Can you provide more insights on their chart?
Show the chart. So the long-term trend is starting to turn down for JFC. You can tell by the moving averages; they're crossing below one another. The green line crossing below the longer term 200-day moving average. I guess the best investors can hope for is probably an oversold bounce here, and then probably most likely continuation of this downtrend. So it's short-term bounce within a longer-term downtrend is what it looks like.
Okay, thank you for that, IC. I guess we have time for one or two more questions.
Just one more question, I think.
Okay, one last question.
Wala yung akin.
Okay. Meron ba sa'yo, IC? Ito lang. Purple brand. Oh,
Mas marami sa YouTube.
ito. Okay.
Nauna yun.
Yeah, we're trying to see the questions. Yung iba kasi nasagot na. Okay, here. When from Mr. Lexus X, when SPNEC share swap possibly takes place? Okay, thank you for the question.
Unfortunately, the answer is we don't know.
Unfortunately, our analyst who covers SPNEC is not here with us today.
I don't think they announced anyway a specific date already.
Yeah,
So that's just something that you will have to wait. But it could be soon.
yeah, and given that some of the private placements have been taking place, although I think may kulang pa in terms of the outstanding shares na matitira in terms of SPNEC that they will be able to fully do the share swap. So I guess it's something that investors should wait for, especially those holding SPNEC. Oh, I think IC is ready for the chart for SPNEC. Okay, can we show that?
Some charts. So clearly, SPNEC is in a long-term uptrend. We're probably looking to buy closer to support at 160. Actually, made a low today, just after 165. It's very, very close to support, so you may want to buy closer to that level. 160, 160 support.
Okay, I think that's all the time we have.
There are still some more questions that came in late ngayon lang into our feed. But we can probably address those in our FP group. So if you're a client, you can post your question there, and we will do our best to answer them there on my trade nap.
Yeah, and I think one of the questions actually, I think he or she is a client. So, sir or ma'am, you can address your question, I guess, after this. So, thank you so much for joining us in today's session. I hope we were able to provide some insights and some guidance in how to track the current market volatility. Um, I guess you guys, do you have any words?
Good luck.
One thing to look forward to is we have the first quarter earnings season coming in just will start in a few weeks now, so that could be something to look forward to in terms of market activity in the next month. So
Okay. So again, thank you everyone. I guess we'll see you soon, and hopefully in the next one we'll be complete and we'll be ready to take on your questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.